How large is the dimension of manifestations? A quick disclaimer before starting this video. This video is a beyond boundless video, meaning that I'll be scaling the dimension of manifestation beyond boundless. However, what I should know is that when I'm scaling beyond boundless, I'm actually doing so for this video in particular off the old boundless system of Versus Battle Wiki. If you're wondering what I mean, here's the definition of Altiversal, High Altiversal, and Tier 0 boundless on Versus Battle Wiki that most people are familiar with. Why I bring this up is because Versus Battle Wiki actually has a brand new one that they're currently making, and you can see it just here on the right. This one seems to be very different, using less conceptual, more mathematical terms. For the sake of this video and the next video following this one, for Beyond Boundless, I'll be referring to the old Boundless as opposed to the new one. After the second Beyond Boundless video after this one, I will then do an explain video going over that Boundless, so that I'm perfectly fair to Versus Battle Wiki. Also, if you're wondering what is the next Beyond Boundless video, it is how large is the dark multiverse of DC Comics. Alright, so now let's talk about the basics of the dimension of manifestation, such as how it works, its origin, and all that good stuff. First off, the dimension of manifestation was first introduced in Quasar, where Quasar needed to find Eternity seeking his help, and to do so, he had to search the dimension of manifestations. How Quasar got to the dimension of manifestations is first by understanding his own spiritual flow, then the flow of the universe around him, and maintaining that long enough to increase his own perception. Doing so, he's able to literally transport himself into the dimension of manifestation. As explained to Quasar several times inside the comic and later comics, the dimension of manifestation is a realm where abstract or just very powerful conceptual based beings are able to ask Anthropomorpho for manifestation bodies. Anthropomorpho is the being inside the dimension of manifestations who creates all the embodies for all other cosmic entities. The dimension of manifestation also acts as a timeline for all times where the cosmic abstracts have asked for manifestation bodies. This has been shown in Quasar as he first time enters the dimension of manifestation and sees all the cosmic entities imprisoned like they were in the Infinity Gauntlet story, which is in the past considering the events of him looking for eternity are that of the start of Infinity War. While searching around, he also sees the trial of Adam Warlock, which is at the end of the Infinity Gauntlet story, so again in the past. Another time when he enters the dimension of manifestation, which is later on, he sees the events of Secret Wars 2 with the trial of the Beyonder and cosmic entities. He also is able to see events that likely are in the future as he sees the Magnus start creating his army for the later Infinity War comic. Now, the dimension of manifestation is infinite. How infinite? Well, Quasar finds an alternate body of infinity and complains about being surprised, because of course there's infinite of infinity. We also have this panel where they describe eternity is so transfinite that you will find numerous manifestations of him. While this is said, we can clearly see Quasar would need to transcend upwards to find eternity. This would mean that the dimension of manifestation is clearly infinitely or transfinite in width, but also infinite or transfinite in height, also meaning layers. This is consistent with the cosmology described by Doctor Strange's Book of Vishanti, and this is also consistent with Kubrick explaining the cosmology to Cosmos, where he says that there are greater infinities, which if any of you know anything about infinities, there are infinitely greater infinities, all of different levels. Now for something that should be common sense, but I think I should go over it regardless. And this is the layers of the dimension of manifestation, because some people may ask, well, how do you have bigger and smaller layers within manifestations? Aren't they all the same? And the answer is no, they're not. An easy example to use is imagine if a cosmic entity had a fourth dimensional embody and then they make a fifth dimensional one. Of course, the manifestation with the fifth dimension is at a higher plane than the fourth dimensional one. Like, that's just clear. And while this is true in Marvel Comics, I feel like it's much, much easier to talk about the fact that you can have universal embodies and multiversal embodies. I say this because many people are familiar with the term of multi-eternity, compared to like universal n-body eternity. So if I use universal or multiversal eternity, that'd be a nice easy thing to use. I need to go in more detail in just a second about the megaverse, but before I do so, just note that both the universe, multiverse, and the different dimensional levels is all true for the dimension of manifestation. Well, let's make this nice and simple. Show a scan of Eternity saying that he's a universal n-body in this scene, with him having a greater multiversal aspect. That's nice and easy, nice and simple. Now, Eternity embodies everything up to the Omniverse, which goes up to deep space, superflow, and all these other good stuff. However, we don't need all that for this. We just need to go up to things below the superflow, like the Megaverse, for example. Now, you're wondering, what is the Megaverse? Well, let's go back to the fact there's a universal n-body and a multiversal n-body. In Marvel, we've seen several statements that there is a multiverse of multiverses, and that multiverse has infinite multiverses, and that this cycle of multiverse and multiverses happens a lot. In fact, here's a bunch of scans showing that there are several different multiverses. There's even this one character who accidentally ran to another multiverse one time. These multiverse of multiverses, consider them different layers of multiversal eternity. So you could say the multiverse of multiverses, the first one would be like layer 3 in a dimension manifestation. A multiverse of that multiverse would be layer 4, etc. If you have the totality of all those multiverses, all those layers, we get the megaverse. That's what the megaverse is. The megaverse isn't the totality of the omniverse, by the way, but it is the layers of the dimension manifestation that are easy to describe for this video's sake. A quick bonus thing about the megaverse, for some clarity for sake. In Howard the Duck, we mentioned of the metaverse. The metaverse is a multiverse of multiverses that would be somewhere within the megaverse. Where particularly, not too sure. We also have the macroverse, which is also a multiverse of multiverses as well. Now, if you look at the definition of megaverse, at least in Marvel Comics, it is a multiverse of multiverses. However, you can have a megaverse also contain other megaverses because those are technically multiverses. So both megaverses contain multiverses and megaverses in a way. So you could see something like the Omniverse is like the end of all megaverses, as it contains all of them, but it wouldn't be incorrect to say the megaverse itself scales to that level. It's very complicated. Now let's talk about the Infinities. In a story called Avengers Infinity, with only 4 issues long, we have the beings known as the Infinities invading the universe. What they're doing is they're coming into the universe and rearranging things to be more energy efficient, or better yet, the way they just want it to be, which is essentially killing all life in the universe. Now, when the Avengers first come across the Infinities, they state that these Infinities right here are stronger than the likes of Eternity, the Living Tribunal, and Oblivion. In fact, they try to say that a normal human compared to those 3 characters is closer than those 3 characters are to the Infinities, which is really interesting because they said that when they were looking at a drone. The drones all fused together to make a gate for the actual Infinities to come through. Once the Infinities arrive, the Avengers all merge their consciousness with Eternity, or a universal n-body of Eternity, so that they can speak with the Infinities. Immediately as they do so, they get ripped into the dimension of manifestation, and we can see that there are multiple Infinities staring down Eternity. The Infinities laugh up the fact that Eternity is just a universal n-body and they are much greater. However, when describing their purpose, they say they are rearranging energy for the greater multiverse. So this would mean that despite their great power, surpassing universal n-bodies so drastically that humans are as close to them as they are to him, the entire group of Infinities together are still below a multiversal n-body of Eternity. Which is also interesting because this is also inside the dimension of manifestation, showing that these layers that were previously mentioned directly scale. Now for some simplistic scaling. We can say that lesser universal M bodies are at least outerversal. We can say this because the in-betweener, one of the weakest M bodies, gets beat up by Galactus all the time, is the concept of concepts, something that can easily be put as outerversal, or he's the synthesis of all dualistic concepts. Dualistic concepts are the concepts between concepts that all transcend each other and go up and up, so that'd make it at least outerversal for the in-betweener. We then say that the other cosmic hierarchy has Lord Eos, Master Order above that, Eternity is above that, the Living Tribunal is above that, so they would all easily scale to outerversal. The Infinity's drones, having the statement they do from Quasar, would easily put them at high outerversal. The Infinity's drones, if you remember correctly, had to fuse to make the gate so that the Infinities themselves could just enter into the universe. And in doing so, they then say that their collective might is less than the multiverse, which is only the second layer in the dimension of manifestations. In other words, second layer of dimension of manifestation is easily over an axiomatic jump from the first layer, going from outerversal to high outerversal. Now, since I know some people don't like simplistic scaling, I honestly don't know why, but some people don't, we're going to go with some more complex scaling. Earlier on, we used an example to prove that there was different levels of M bodies, showing that there are multiversal M bodies and universal ones using cosmic Q beings. Cubic and Cosmos, while exploring the cosmos, were looking at the celestials and saying that they are greater infinities compared to themselves. This is important because Cubic, in a previous issue in the same comic run, was able to overpower the post-retcon Beyonder. The same post-retcon Beyonder who can obliterate Celestials with very low effort. In fact, Cubic was so much more powerful than the Beyonder, it is stated that his power is unimaginable compared to the Beyonder who has unimaginable power. This would be a similar axiomatic transcendence as said earlier on, which is also interesting because the post-retcon Beyonder also has the exact same statements attributed to him by Molecule Man, where after Molecule Man loses to the Beyonder, he states that the power of the Beyonder transcends him like he transcends Captain America. So as you can see there, between Cubic, Beyonder, and Molecule Man, we have several axiomatic transcendences, and that's only between one layer, which would be inside the dimension of manifestation. It's also noticed that this is definitely a low ball because there are several other statements about the cosmic Q beings where they are axiomatic. They are littered all over the place. Let's conclude this all together right now. So we know the dimension manifestation has transfinite manifestations for just eternity, and we know this includes levels of eternity, as are levels of infinity for the cosmos itself, stated by Cubic and Cosmos exploring the cosmos. And going between two different layers, confirmation directly in a dimension of manifestation is an axiomatic difference. Axiomatic differences is like going from outerversal to high outerversal. So if we have a transfinite or a beyond infinite amount, or even just an infinite amount if we wanted to lowball, we would have a 1s extraversal sized realm. This is very easily beyond boundless, as the video intended to show. Thank you everyone for watching this video. If you like this video, check out the playlist of Beyond Boundless videos. This is episode 3, so there's only 2 others before this, one of SCP and one of a cosmological structure of a Type 4 multiverse. Check out my friends Captain Forrest and Corin O'Keefe. Corin O'Keefe especially actually helped me out with the scaling a lot, so do check out his channel. And as always, thank you all for watching. Have a good day, everyone.